Okay, we got some questions from chat first that are going to come up.
Questions from chat.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. My question is, why is there such a small following for things like this? When gamers really hate games with propaganda, look at Concord and now Dragon Age, or is it because they're scared? Lol.
Such a small following. I mean,
It's you put that in context, right? Like it is only a month out
yeah.
from any of the hullabaloo.
Hmm.
Things have really yet to settle.
Yeah, yeah.
But what are your feelings on that?
Um, I don't know that. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily small, but I think that there's. I mean, most of your normal average person isn't really aware of game engines, or
That's fair.
they're not really thinking about that stuff. So as far as like our game engine is involved, um, the people that know about us are the people that use game engines. I mean, that's kind of it. So there's probably less of those than there is of gamers.
And then maybe
Um,
politically aware game developers.
yeah, yeah, sure. So we just really wanted to create something that wasn't politically focused, or socially focused in that way. Just forget all that stuff. Just come make games. So we don't care, what side of the aisle you live on. You're welcome to come and talk, and you know, you're not going to just get banned for doing something stupid. We might time you out or something like that, um, but yeah, we're not going to just kick you out just because uh, you you disagree with a political side, I guess, or the social stuff too. So,
Right,
um,
right.
but yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily small. I just think there's a lot of people that just don't. They're just not that aware of it. You kind of have to be a gamer to even know about um, some of this stuff, and the rest of it we're just not too concerned with. There's no way for us um, to kind of keep track of it all, and
All right on. Do you intend on keeping the project open source then?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There,
I don't think
it's
there's
never
much
going to
way
close.
around that. Yeah.
We're
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to.
No, we're MIT licensed. That's going to stay. Project will always be open source. In fact, one of the things that we want to do is create a kind of a foundation that can help um, keep it funded, while also keeping it community focused, not corporate driven. So nobody will ever be able to pay us for a feature. They can donate to the project, but that the nothing will be like kind of pay for feature, or pay for fix or stuff like that. So
All right.
let's do it.
We need in the website. We need on the first line. How do we pronounce Redot?
Okay, we've got Redo, we've got Redo, we've got what am I missing? um Redot, Red Dot, and yeah, any way you could think of saying it, it's fine.
I think we have to find a stable
uh
center.
yeah, I usually say
Maybe
redo,
redo. I'm kind of partial to redo as well. It
because
has an
it's kind of
interesting
like
flavor
a,
to it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of
start
like,
over.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like, all right, hold up, redo. We're
I
done.
mean, the re was kind of from reform anyway, so
Uh,
um
See that by itself would be a pretty nice game engine name. The Reform engine would be kind of
yeah.
cool. Yeah, give me credit that
next next iteration,
like,
next iteration.
yeah. Version 5. Get
Yeah,
get a couple years under your belt, and then
right,
right
right.
on. All right. So Drenzer asks about the recent hacking attempts. So yeah, I think the Twitter account got hacked, right? They
Sadly,
have
yes.
any? Yeah, it happens, man. Uh, what are your means for prioritizing issues, and how aggressively do you intend to maintain parity with Godot? I think we kind
Yeah,
of covered some of the
we
parity
did kind
issues,
of
but
cover the parody stuff,
yeah,
but yeah, I'll answer it anyway. Yeah, as far as the hacking thing, that was it was a misclick for sure. Um, Somebody clicked on the,
oh, it was
you
a
know,
phishing link.
yeah, it
Oh,
was a phishing
that's
link.
the
Yeah,
worst. It's unfortunate.
I've sent a couple of emails. In fact, X emailed me again today, so I sent them some more information. So hopefully, we'll get it back soon. Meanwhile, the new one is gaining followers pretty rapidly, so please follow that.
Right, and then you can redirect them when everything gets sorted out. Hopefully, you can get the attention back.
Two-factor authentication.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, we got some more popping up here.
Let's see.
Justin Barrett asks, "What are the short-term and long-term goals? How do you handle onboarding, like the growth in the community on the developer side, and how do you plan to fund everything?"
So let's see, short and long-term goals. I guess short-term is finish the build system, get everything set up so people can just download the template or the build templates or the export templates rather. Just kind of get everything squared away. Long-term goals, obviously, bug fixes, add new features, improvements. We actually, one of the things we picked, I think, was a UI improvement. So, we're looking at stuff like that too. Snap to, I think somebody was working on a perfect pixel fix. I'm not sure how.
That would be nice.
How that's going. They did create a shader that does it for you. And that was sort of the easy fix. I think the underlying fix might be a lot harder, but it's being investigated. So yeah, long term is just more bug fixes and features that we can add without breaking the core.
I like this question here about the onboarding. Like, what do you do to bring new developers up to speed with their existing code base? Is there any plan to give developers documentation on how the engine works and then bring them up? Some kind of rephrase the question a tiny bit, but yeah, that'd be nice to have.
Yeah, actually, there's been a lot of talk about actually adding more documentation to the engine itself. So having engine documentation. So that is kind of a thing that's being looked at. I don't know where we're at on it or anything. I can't give specifics, but as far as onboarding, we're open source, so there's not a set in stone way that we basically try to talk to people, figure out what their interests and what their skill levels are, and we just bring them in and see how they do, see what they want to work on, if they do a PR or, once we get to a point where we start laying out tasks, we can start assigning tasks to people and just kind of, go from there. They can start small, work their way up. So I as far as the, more of an onboarding process, that'll come once we probably get to our 1.0 release. It'll be much easier to do then. Because right now we're still dealing with a lot of infrastructure stuff, if that makes sense.
No, that's totally understandable.
Community growth. I'm always working on that, whether it's spreading the word. I'm always trying to help other developers and spread word about their games. So even if it's not built with Godot or Redot, I will retweet your game and try to get you some traction on it. Helping game developers in general, just indie devs, is a kind of a big deal to me. So because I mostly play indie games at this point, so anything I can do to help the community, I'm pretty much for it.
I really been enjoying a lot of the indie games. I've been going through a lot of the Pico 8 indie games. I'm a big fan of that Pico 8 system. It's so fun. It also forces people to really focus on gameplay because it's a limited engine. I love that. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing about it is you have to focus on the gameplay because it's not heavily, it's not great graphics. Obviously, it's pixel art, but so the gameplay is highly important for that kind of thing. Funding, we have a Ko-Fi account. We don't have we've been funding everything out of pocket. So me and a few other devs have been paying for hosting or paying for keys. We had to pay for a Mac developer account, stuff like that. That's par for the course. We want to put it on Steam at some point, but we've there's a steady growing amount of people that are helping out with on our Ko-Fi account. So our plan is just to grow that, and then hopefully keep everything covered. But it's still kind of early. We haven't had any like big donor options or anything like that. But
well, right on. We do have a Twitter one. Are both Godot and Redot able to share and take code from each other, considering the licenses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
yep. We've actually we pushed the fix up to them. So one of our early adopters runs a little 2D MMO called K-Tram, I believe. Kaetram. It's on Steam. And he was running into a packet problem where he was having packet loss issues. And
interesting.
It was, I guess he'd submitted to Godot, and it'd been a good while and nothing ever happened. So when we started, he submitted it to us, and they developed a fix for it, and we actually pushed it up to Godot, and they didn't like it at first, or I don't know, something happened. So then I guess we had to re-comment and tell them exactly what it fixes and how it works. And I guess I don't know if they just misunderstood or didn't understand the initial message, but they finally, I guess they tagged it for, I don't know if they tagged it for the 4.4 or another 4.3, but it was going to take them a good while. So we just went ahead and stuck it in ours. If they wind up pushing it down, and it'll come with their, when we pull from them again, we'll just cut our code and bring it in from them. But meanwhile, everybody gets to benefit from the fix. So yeah, we,
That's great. I like that.
It's open source, it's MIT license. You can cherry pick or pull features from anybody. That's how the MIT license works, really. That's kind of how it is with most open source. It's just it's a license, and you use it how you can just pull the code if you need to, and follow whatever the license says.
All right, there's Sir Hunt's going to come back up. Oh, no, so you got another question here. If I had to ask, though, is there any way we can protect game community managers from the ilk of certain unsavory types?
Yeah, if you're a community manager, just block them personally so they can't PM you, and
ban hammer.
Like it's like there's no reason for anybody to take abuse from anywhere, really. If you don't like somebody on Twitter, you can just block them and they can't bother you. That there's a reason those tools exist. You should just be using them.
Will the engine introduce significant new features such as additional nodes, options, and stuff that really differentiate it from Go? And I think we touched on this a little bit before, so I don't want to insert words in your mouth on this one too much, but I do think that you want to keep parity. But I do like the idea of saying that like maybe you will come up with new nodes. So what are your thoughts around nodes and options and just ways to things that can be a superset versus
right
parity? What are options like that? Ideas?
Yeah, definitely. If it's something that doesn't break our ability to pull from upstream, we're definitely more than willing to look at it and implement it. There's obviously a lot of ideas. I can't speak to them all because there's tons, and I am watching so many areas. I can't keep up with all of all the ideas and all the stuff that's being discussed. We've had loads and loads of discussions about what we can implement, and there's tons of great ideas. And I think nodes is probably something that we could look at for sure. Um, but I would just say keep watching. I think once we get um, closer to 1.0, definitely see a lot more changes that will differentiate us. Even just the bug fixes themselves do, because they're things that Godot isn't doing. They could, but I mean they haven't, and it's been a while.
Yeah,
So
there have been a lot of long-standing things that have sat in
mhm,
the Godot thing. It's been a while since I've looked at their actual uh, they're like the bug list or the feature list, the requests that people are
mhm.
constantly asking for. I know the big one has always been the issue with the script tab and the 3D script view weird tab nonsense has always bothered me. I have a hard time
Mhm.
navigating it.
Yeah, we've
Um,
actually talked about adding more tabs and stuff too. So
right. Yeah, any UI improvements
mhm,
would be greatly appreciated.
yeah.
I think a lot of people in the community have long just lamented that Godot's UIs
Mhm.
it just has places that need to be fixed. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a little stifling at times for sure.
Yeah, George McCorsman asks, in order to not fragment online training resources, including the YouTube tutorials, can you pledge to maintain compatibility with Godot's GD script implementation with well into the future? And then can Redo allow a George Marquise to be the Guido von Rossum of GD script? Which I
Uh,
find that kind of funny. He's that's
that
a
is kind
very
of funny.
interesting characterization. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. And I think our I think the point is that we aren't going to break compatibility with GE
yeah,
script. So that's one of the points. We've had so many people, oh, you should rip it out. Oh, you should do this.
rip it
Um,
out, install Lua. Like
somebody,
that's. I'm
somebody,
sure that's always a request people make.
yeah, somebody offered some money for us to maybe build a separate version that was strictly C sharp and with everything else ripped out. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, we don't really have any interest in that. We definitely have interest in building a version that that deviates heavily from Godot, but that wouldn't be our stable base. So like 4.3, 4.4. Um, we'll always probably keep some sort of stability or some sort of parity
Mm,
to where it doesn't deviate that much, but we might have a separate thing that you could download, a separate product that does heavily deviate for people that are interested in different things like having Jolt built in or or a different renderer, things like that. So those are obviously future plans, but we don't plan on going anywhere. So um, keep an eye out.
yeah, yeah. I think we got one here. Leading status asked, uh, "Do you plan on implementing tools for non-programmers?" He adds, "Godot seems
Oh
approachable for these kinds of users,
yeah.
but not too much. Like RPG Maker and Game Maker are
Mhm.
examples. Those are good game engines if you're just learning." But I think
Yeah,
I think this leads to it's a leading question
very leading.
um, because the question is are you bringing back visual scripting in Godot? That's like in Redot. Is that how it's going to go?
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
what we're doing.
So no, we're
All
not
right,
bringing.
over. We're
Wait,
done. No.
no, no, no. We are not bringing back Godot's visual scripting. No, we're not
Yeah.
doing that. However, there is a guy in our Discord who is building a event sheet um, in GD script. Um,
Okay.
he's calling it event sheet currently. His name, I don't know how to pronounce it, man. I'm sorry. I believe it's Ladek. It's spelled Wladek.
Okay.
Um, so he's building an event sheet visual scripting um, that's very similar to Construct 3 or GDevelop if you've seen that. I can't think of any other event sheet style things, but it is also going to allow people to have the event sheet on one side and the code that it translates to on the other side. So people that are, you know, very scared of code or whatever, just trying to learn it, can use the event sheet and see what code is actually being generated by the event sheet. So we plan on supporting this. It's going to be a plugin. So it's not going to be built in, but I think that's probably a good thing in this case.
Yeah, it'd be
but
nice
it
to
will
be able
be
to track down.
Yeah, but it'll be unofficially supported. So some of our devs want to get involved with it and help him build it out more once he hits a certain point. He's going to open source it, and so even if one of the other forks, or if Godot wanted to, they could obviously, it would work. It should work on Godot too. But yeah, I think that'll be a great tool. I've always been a huge fan of event sheets versus visual scripting, like like Godot tried to do, or like Unreal uses blueprints. I'm not the biggest fan of blueprints. To me,
They
that
seem to be hard to collaborate. Like version
yeah,
control seems to be difficult around the blueprint idea.
yeah, and it's hard to, for me, it's harder to visualize what I'm doing for some reason. But the event sheet really kind of clicked for me when I was first learning and just first dabbling with game engines and stuff. I used Construct 2 for a while.
Well, Game Maker uses something similar to Event Sheet, right?
No,
Is that what they do?
Game Maker, they have a visual scripting, but it's more.
It's different than what other
It's
visual scripting tools are like.
it
Yeah,
is different. And most people don't use it.
Interesting.
So it's different. Usually they just try to use it as a way to get you involved in game making, and then you'll move over to the code, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot less like tutorials and stuff out there for what they call drag and drop. That's what they call theirs. So we intend to support this with tutorials and stuff like that too.
That sounds like a great addition. Honestly, it seems like there's always that that gap between those that can code a little bit and those that need the visual languages, and it's nice to have something available. I think I'm familiar with the idea of this event, like you're talking about, this event table or event graph. But I think it's a little different than visual scripting, and different than some of the other designs out there. So I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like. That'd be probably that's a neat feature. Looking forward to.
Yeah. If you pop on our Discord in the I think it's in community resources, maybe. He's actually got a running a thing there for the event sheet, so you can't miss it. There's a lot there. So he's posting screenshots and little videos of how to work and stuff like that. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah. At what level of proficiency does one have to be to contribute? So that's our last question, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. You don't have to be at any certain level. Depending on your skill level, there's either docs and things that can be helped out with. We've got a docs team that's doing some work. We have a mod team. If you're interested in engine development, there's going to be places in the future that you can contribute, even in small ways, to get used to the code and stuff. So whether that's just making comment changes, or just small changes in general. So once we get out past our 1.0, it'll be a lot easier to have a task list, so we can actually assign people tasks if they want to contribute, and teach them how to do the PRs and things. So we're definitely looking at that kind of stuff, because we want people to be able to jump in wherever they are interested.
That sounds excellent. Yeah, it's depending on proficiency, it's often just the struggle there is, right now, most of the developers that have skill are focused very detailed on like very specific things, especially the build system. Making sure that things get out reliably. But generally speaking, like if you are a person who doesn't have strong coding proficiency, but you want to contribute, I would suspect the best way is, just get in there and say you're interested. And then often you'll find people that are willing to sort of shepherd you through the process. There are many people that'll be like, and don't expect yourself to solve a problem in like a day or two. You can take 2 weeks at solving a minor problem that no one else is going to work on right now, but you're really interested in. And as long as you keep, just keep telling people what you're doing, how you're trying to solve the problem, you'll probably get a little feedback back and forth. And just,
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Our devs are super helpful. They answer questions in Discord all the time. So if you're interested in helping and maybe, you have a little bit of experience or want to gain more experience, that would definitely be a good way to go. You can talk to any of them. They'll kind of point you in the right direction and, probably help you out.
So so one of the things that we do here with It's Based, our bigger goal is to build culture and to kind of bring people back into feeling like they can speak and express themselves. And so, how can people help out to help you and help us build this culture and build a better world? I should say.
Oh, that's a big question. I would say just get involved wherever you feel most led to get involved. Like that's really what doing anything different is about. The term "just fork it" has a lot of connotation to it, but what it really kind of means is that if you want to see something different, be that change. Just do the thing, whatever it is. And eventually people will notice and they'll either help or but typically you're doing something right if you're taking a lot of shit for it. So just kind of use that as a gauge for how well you're doing.
Yeah, the worse it feels, the better you're doing. That's excellent. By the way, everybody, check us out at itsbased.com. You can join our Discord server. You can follow us on X. And then don't forget Andevrs here. Go check him out is it redoengine.com?
Yeah, Redot engine. Yeah, it's spelled Redot.
Redot engine. Yeah, redotengine.com.
It's actually .org, not .com.
Is it .org? Okay, so
it's
yeah.
.org. Yeah.